So, one of the qualities that I love about Buddhism is that when studying, um, we can always go deeper. There's not an end to it until I think Buddhahood. Um, and as monastics, we have the circumstances where we can take teachings, study, contemplate the teachings, and because of that, we progress on the path quite nicely, I would say. And I'm very grateful that we have this opportunity to live this way. Um, so I experienced this going deeper when I was preparing for working with the 8 verses of thought training. Um, Especially this second batch of them. I did 4 to begin with, but I was a little short in time, and so I didn't go very deep. And now I had some time, and you could practice these. Well, I will be practicing these for this life, probably next life, life after that. And, I had a moment of a little discouragement, but then I read where His Holiness said that he recites these every day and applies them all the time. So that put it in perspective for me. And so I know, what's ahead. This isn't something that you understand quickly. And of course, I have some arrogance, so I read them and it's like, oh, I understand this. But that's nothing. It's that I actually live them, and that's the harder part. So let me start. Since there's some new folks here, I'll just briefly review the first 4 verses. With the thought of attaining awakening for the welfare of all beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear. And so this one has a lot of parts to it. Equanimity, the kindness of others. Everything depends on the kindness of others. And then, compassion. And the compassion that we want to develop is based on self-respect, not out of guilt or feeling unworthy, but it needs to come from self-respect. And I think that's a hard one. At least it was for me. It took many years to work that out, I think. And of course, also we think about how we are all the same. We all want happiness, and none of us want to suffer. The second verse, whenever I am with others, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all, and from the very depths of my heart, I will respectfully hold others as supreme. And so this one, for me, is a remedy to arrogance, and again, with humility, to cherish others and appreciate their good qualities and keep turning my mind to that. I have a mind that's quite judgmental and critical, and so this one can be practiced every day, every hour, maybe every minute. The third one, in all actions, I will examine my mind, and the moment a disturbing attitude arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly confront and avert it. So with this one, since afflictions are the real enemy, we spend, at least I did at first when I met Buddhism, spending a lot of time trying to turn my mind away from the enemy is out there. If these people would just quit doing that, I would have some ease and I'd be all right. And so that takes a long time to turn that because at least I was very conditioned to look for the enemy outside of myself. So since the enemy is in here and that's what destroys my happiness, then my task is to learn and then start applying the antidotes. And that also is quite a bit of a practice and takes some time because we all are so different. There's a ton of antidotes, but some of them don't work with my mind, and others work really well. So it takes, at least it did for me, some years to start building up this toolbox or medicine chest of antidotes that work for my dispositions. So that takes a while. The other thing that I started doing was recognizing whenever my peace of mind was disturbed, that was when I start looking for the afflictions, because that's the first uh, thing that kind of arises. And then the other thing is that I pay a lot of attention, or try to my body, especially with some of the afflictions. So with anger, I feel it first in my belly. So whenever that starts to get tight, then oh, anger's coming. So then I can try to avert it. And of course, with these, the quicker that we can acknowledge them and recognize them and apply the antidote, the easier it is to drop it and remove it from our mind. For attachment, that one is more of a, I don't know, the word I use is zingy. I have kind of a buzz going on in my body, sort of energetically, and I'm really anticipating or looking forward to something. Usually that is, the basis of that is attachment. So when I get that way, I start talking about just how long is this happiness going to last, and that kind of breaks the bubble a bit. Fourth one, whenever I meet a person of bad nature who is overwhelmed by negative energy and intense suffering, I will hold such a rare one dear, as if I had found a precious treasure. So difficult people certainly challenge our ability to maintain our compassion and peace of mind. And so to overcome deep-seated biases is really helpful to work with. And my experience of that has a lot to do with when I go into the prisons and meet those folks that are incarcerated. Oftentimes they talk about, or sometimes I know what they did that brought them into prison, and oftentimes it's a bit frightening, especially at first it was. And over the years, then getting to know these people and rounding out my view of them instead of one thing, one thing that maybe lasted, 3 minutes or something, but, their entire experiences and who they are in their life. When I started seeing them that way, then all of that stuff just fell away. And, I didn't see them as one action anymore, whereas most people do. That's the difficulty when they get out. They are labeled, a thief or a murderer or, whatever, abuser or whatever. So to really start looking at what biases I came in with, what biases I learned in my family, in my society, culture, etc., and to start dismantling those is really helpful to decrease all of the negative views that we have, in our day. The fifth one, when others out of jealousy mistreat me with abuse, slander, and so on, I will practice accepting defeat and offering the victory to them. So this is a very hard one for me, I will say. So accepting defeat doesn't mean that we accept responsibility for the wrongdoing of others. That's not what this is meaning. And then offering the victory doesn't mean that whatever we do, we just, oh, it's okay, not that. But it's more about when I offer the victory to someone when I'm having some conflict and difficulty with, it means that I I don't match that energy and I drop it. I don't engage. I don't bite the anger hook, you know. Um, and by doing that, then we can become more open and more tolerant and be more skillful at working with when anger arises. And again, you know, for me, that's hard because if I'm sensitive to a certain thing, and I am, I don't know if you are, but I have sensitivities. And when people criticize me in that realm of that sensitivity, it's a big reaction that I have. And so sometimes the best I can do is I have to walk away. I have to say, I can't do this now, you know. But that's okay. That's better than letting things flow out of this thing. Huh? And then, of course, you know, if we just slow down, then we can come back and with some of our discernment and our wisdom and our compassion, then get some more information. You know, what is going on here? It's these fast, quick exchanges that are so difficult, at least for me. That's when I get into the most trouble, I think. Mm. And so this whole practice of restraining myself, again, it kind of comes back to that other thing where if I'm blaming somebody out there, then why would I need to restrain myself, you know? So I have to keep it here. My practice is here. It has nothing to do with out there at all anymore, hardly. It's right here. Um, and of course, you know, if I can notice when I start getting that kind of energy where I want to control others or they're not doing it right or all of that stuff, then, you know, that's the time that I start restraining what I'm doing and seeing that I'm going in a direction that's going to bring conflict, period, you know. Um, and of course, you know, we need to be sensitive to situations. Sometimes it's appropriate to say something if somebody is not, you know, acting very kind or saying words that are harsh. Sometimes it's okay to say something. Other times it is not. For most times it's to not, I think. I try not to say anything back when somebody has got an affliction running and they're talking through that. Um, that's the best circumstance, to not talk at all and to come back around at a different time. But all of this is really difficult for me. I don't know. Maybe it's really easy for y'all, but ooh, very difficult. Mm. Anyhow, the most important thing with all of this is when we bump up against each other here. And when we do, the most important thing is that we don't then ruminate and, you know, really trash ourselves and bash ourselves that we didn't do it right and we're terrible people. We don't do that. And we also don't hold on resentment to the other person. If we can let it go and not hold on, then there's the opening to start repairing. And that comes quite easily in this community because we all give each other space when we're having difficult time. We all know that we're all doing the best we can each moment. And that's kind of the beauty of the community and community life. We're all the same in how we're doing things. Uh, I think maybe I'll stop there and I'll do the last two the next BBC I have. Yeah, okay.